Pathmonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in the buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding Pathmonk to your website in seconds, letting the AI do all the work, and increase conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. All right, everyone, welcome to today's episode of Pathmonk Presents. Today, we are joined by Phil Spurgeon. He's the head of marketing at QGate. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Happy to have you and excited to get into it, Phil. So let's start with the basics. Okay, so can you give us an idea of what's the big idea behind QGate? And if you were to explain it to a friend over coffee, let's say, how would you describe what you do?
Well, in a nutshell, QGate is a CRM consultancy. We help businesses that use Dynamics 365 to grow. So we go in, we look at all your processes end to end, figure out what's working, what's not, how you would like things to work, and then we help you achieve that through Dynamics.
Okay, fairly simple on paper, but then obviously there's a layer of complexity. I'm sure that's that's in there.
Exactly. We take a very consultative approach, and we don't go in with any preconceived ideas. We don't go in there with a slide deck telling you how to run your business or what your industry is doing. What we tend to go in there with a notepad and pen and ask questions, and it'd be quite vulnerable, I suppose, in that, because you need that humility if you really want to help, and that's how we approach it. We are coming at it from a place of we want to help you achieve your goals, and we can't do that with preconceptions.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And I think it's a good way to actually get to understand people, so you listen to what they have to say. Now, when you do go with that notepad and pen, Phil, what are the key problems that typically you underline, let's say, and that you find a pattern, let's say, that people and the companies you work with have the most? And on the other end, what kind of experience can they expect when they work with you?
In terms of common problems, that's a good question. I mean, to be honest, the most common problem is actually around sales optimization. Most businesses don't map out their sales process when they're starting out, because quite often it's a couple of people or one person on their own, and it scales and scales and scales, and before they know it, they know that the orders are coming in from somewhere, but they don't quite know from where or how long they're taking, or even what it's costing them. So deconstructing that process is very valuable for a lot of our clients, if nothing else, because it gives them clarity on how long their buying process takes, what's their cost of acquisition, because they just don't have the visibility. In terms of what they expect from us, let's say we do approach that process from a place of radical candor is the term we like. We'll be very honest to the point of direct, but we care about the people we're talking to. We're not looking to be rude or insulting. We're just going to ask some perhaps impertinent questions, even some stupid questions, and we might get told we're being a bit thick in the process. But if we don't ask, we don't know. And equally, by asking those questions, sometimes people internally within those businesses go, actually, yeah, why are we doing it that way? Or I'm so glad you've asked that. I've been wondering it for years. And we have had those situations where it's like, yeah, why are we doing it that way? But I guess the thing that makes QGate special is the team we build around our clients. We have a dedicated business analyst who does go in and just pulls back the bonnet and looks at everything. and strips it all back. And then we have a dedicated project manager, we have a dedicated developer. You know, they are supported throughout the whole process by experts. So the end result is something that's actually going to serve their business and help them meet their goals.
Yeah, that's very important, because it feels like, you know, you're adding to their team, and especially when it comes to them being, you know, maybe it's a startup, or maybe, you know, it's just two of them, 3, 4, 5 in the team. If you add 2 people even, it's going to make such a huge difference. And it doesn't sound like you're mucking about, you know, you're that radical candor. It's what's going to help them actually progress. So you're not wasting their time either.
Well, and this is it. Time is the key. You know, automating processes. So, you know, a classic one is finance. You know, if you know that there are certain invoices that come in every single month from certain suppliers and they're the same value every single month, you don't need anybody to see those invoices to pay them. Not really. You know, say PR consultant, and they charge £2,000 a month every single month without fail. Okay, well, you know that cost is there. It's been budgeted for. It's all been approved by the relevant parties. So actually, you just create a flow that says anything, you know, invoices that come from this person for this amount are automatically approved, go through to finance, who will automatically pay it. And it's only a few minutes in marketing and a few minutes in finance, but actually you multiply that across the course of a year across multiple suppliers, and actually all of a sudden you're saving yourself a huge amount of time. Plus, your suppliers are happy because they're getting paid faster.
That's big one.
And that is, let's be honest, a key component of the trust you have between you and your supplier. If you're paying on time, you're reliable, which means on those occasions when you need a favor, they're much more likely to say yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's take a step back for a second, Phil. I just want to understand a little bit more, you know, what obviously we talked about, you know, once you get to the point of notepad and pen, and, you know, you're consulting with these clients. Now, when it comes to people discovering you, then are there any marketing channels that have become your go-to, let's say, for bringing in new customers at this point? How's that working on the marketing side of things?
Well, we've had a complete rebrand recently, and we've kind of repositioned ourselves as well slightly. So we are much more focused on the consultancy. So we've kind of turned the tanker, and we're now trying to build up a good head of speed. But predominantly our lead sources are referrals, you know, word of mouth, and you kind of understand why, because CRM projects are high stakes, and it's not something you can afford to get wrong. So the referrals that come in to us, it's because they know ultimately that we can do the work. But we also get a fair bit of business via, you know, organic search, you know, just on the website. But even the website itself plays a fairly important role as kind of a validation tool with the referrals, because I think the last 8 referrals have all commented on the website that they like our approach, because we're pretty upfront about how we work, both in terms of our approach, but also who we want to work with. You know, we want to work with people who have that forward-thinking mindset, you know, who have ambitious growth goals, because that means they're going to take this seriously. And so, because we kind of lay it all out again in a fairly radical, honest way, we find that we've kind of jumped a fair few hurdles by the time the conversation starts in earnest.
Makes sense. That's that qualification process, right? Where I'm trying to understand, would we work for them? Would they work for us? And
exactly. It's as much about qualifying out as it is qualifying in.
Of course, yeah. I'm glad you brought up the website, because I was going to ask you, since you just had a rebrand, and is there anything about the website that you think really works at the moment, or maybe anything you got your eye on improving already from the traffic, at least, that's coming through organic, or in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, websites are never finished, right? They're just abandoned, I think is the saying. There's always stuff we can do better. And I'm going through an SEO audit at the minute, just kind of re-optimizing where we tweak things and added an extra service actually specifically focused around sales optimization, and just punching up CTAs and things like that. But yeah, the website for us is pretty essential, because it is that sense checker for that referral traffic. But I think honestly, the thing that works best for us is the fact that we have a page on our website where we say this is who we want to work with, and we're also quite honest, say this is the kind of budget you need, because we've spoken to in the past some fantastic businesses and we think they're a great fit, but they haven't got any money, and let's be honest, that is a factor. So talking to somebody who's got $5,000 in a Mars bar, you're lovely, but you can't afford us, or in fact imagine anybody else in the space. So we've just been very upfront with the realities of working on a Microsoft Dynamics project.
That's good. It sounds like that goes across your messaging, as much as you talked about radical candor in a meeting, or when you're consulting with a client, then it's also for your website messaging. It's just, this is what we are, this is what we work with, this is how much you should budget for it. It's all transparent, and I think people appreciate it, even if they can't afford it, or they're not the right fit. Then at least you've not wasted their time, and they can see it and they can say, okay, click on contact or close the page. Simple as that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Is there anything from your experience, and you can draw from your experience, obviously QGate, but also other experiences that actually makes a website convert? You talked about sprucing up CTAs and a bunch of other things, but maybe there are, I don't know, tools. We know we all love to geek out on a tool stack, right? When it comes to marketing, little, I don't know, tactics or frameworks that have worked wonders for you, either in the past or are working now, maybe.
I mean, I think the right tools for the job plays a big part. Obviously I use analytics because who doesn't, but SEMrush is never closed on my browser, and I've got a few other tools in the toolbox that I try and glean as much insight and information from as I can, so I can make improvements. But honestly, for us, it just comes down to, as you said, being completely transparent. That for us has been the most effective approach on our website to date. The company's been around 27 years, and just being completely honest with how we work, how we want to work with you, who we want to work with, has been, I think, the biggest and most effective change. Beyond all the the SEO witchcraft that you have to do to get people to the site in the first place.
Yeah, that's I think that's a good one, and I wish more companies actually adopted that, because sometimes we get lost behind the bells and whistles of sorts, and it just gets I don't know. I mean, I personally get fatigued quite a lot from it, just by looking at a website and trying to understand, okay, what are you about, and what can you offer me, and how do you solve my issues, right? My problems at the moment. Yeah. Sometimes we get lost in that. So let's switch gears for a second. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was to say, I think for us it's about fairness, kind of across the board. We're being fair to our potential clients. That we're going to have a good working relationship, but also it's kind of fair to the team. I don't want the sales guys to waste their time. I don't want the project management team or the dev team to have to work with somebody who's just not a good fit for us. because it happens. There's always a client that quibbles everything and sends 1,000 emails, and so by the time you actually tot up the amount of time everybody spent fielding all these queries, you've not made a penny.
Yeah.
And it's miserable. And ultimately, we should all be enjoying our jobs. So it's making sure that everybody end to end is kind of happy and content in the relationship.
Yeah, that you nailed it with that last. It's a relationship at the end of the day. It's a
Yeah.
business relationship, but also you deal with humans. So you have to make sure that your messaging, the way you speak is jives with the other person, and
Yeah.
it's there's a dynamic to it. So
Sure.
yeah, that's a good one for sure. Now, as I was saying, let's talk about you, right? Let's stay on the human, on the personal side of things, maybe. Not too personal, but I would love to understand, what does a typical workday look like for you, Phil? And maybe what are the main things you focus on a day-to-day? And I know typical is, might be misused because you're in marketing and no day is the same, but yeah, just give us a glimpse into what you do.
Sure. I mean, I must admit, I have to be fairly prescriptive in my week, just because there's 1,000 things to do, and if I don't block my week out in advance, things get missed, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there tends to be some staples. So content is kind of something that's always in the diary, along with working on the video content that we're producing at the moment, and some of that is kind of on the production side, the editing side, and others is kind of working with people like our managing director, to help him record the piece, make sure that he's hitting the right talking points, or whatever it is. But yeah, typical is a relative term. So this week it's more SEO work, tinkering with the paid search campaigns we've got going on. It'll be the week after, because I'm giving myself a week off. Is going to be gearing up for our podcast that we're gonna be launching. So pre-production calls, setting up all the various tools that we need to push it out when it's ready to go, liaising with the guests we've got in the works, and all of that kind of stuff. So I guess I work on a rotation of typical weeks, if you like.
So you switch the context based on the week, not necessarily within the day, at a micro level, let's say. But that's good, right? Because it's never productive to keep switching context and changing things that you work on. So you keep it on a weekly basis,
Yeah.
and then
Obviously there are times when you just have to react, and if you get a call saying, would you be interested in an editorial for this? You're going to go, well, actually, yes, I would. So I'm gonna stop my SEO audit and do that, because that's far more important and pressing. But yeah, I try to keep it fairly structured, because in the past it's kind of one of those things where I'd start a backlink audit on a Monday, and they get to Friday and go, oh yeah, I haven't finished that, and then you go, I'll finish it next Monday. By which point it's out of your head and gets forgotten about.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay, Phil, we're coming towards the end of our interview here, so I would love us to jump into our rapid fire segment of the podcast. So, it's just a quick and easy way to wrap things up, if you will. Now, the only unspoken rule we have is that for a concise question, we ask for a concise answer. Would you be ready for that?
Okay, right, I'll give it a go.
All right, let's try. So, when it comes to content, do you prefer reading, watching, or listening?
All of them.
Okay. Now then, let's pick reading at this point. What's the latest book you picked up, and were there any ideas or gems that really stuck with you?
Well, technically, the last book I read was Princess and the Pea at bedtime last night. But the book I'm reading at the moment is The Battle of Britain by James Holland, World War II history. And I guess the thing to take away from that is, scale and complexity can be very, very overwhelming if you let it. You look at something as complicated as a war machine, making sure you've got the right people, the right materials, everything else. But all you need is the right people in the right place, focused on what they're meant to be delivering, and not getting bogged down in things that just don't matter. Then actually you can achieve some pretty incredible things.
Okay. What's the name of the book again?
It's just called The Battle of Britain,
Okay.
by James Holland.
All right. Interesting. Thanks for sharing. Now, if you had a magic wand, Bill, and could fix one frustrating thing in your life with tech, what would it be?
Do you know what? I would love all the tools I have to talk to, well, no, not necessarily talk to each other, but just I'd like a single place where I could look at everything and it's not a faff. So, I could plug in SEMrush, I could plug in analytics, paid search, you name it, whatever it is, Tableau, Salesforce, who cares? And it just work without any tinkering or fudging or, oh, well, yeah, it does that bit, but it doesn't quite do that bit properly. That's what I'd love. Just open a single dashboard and just have everything, and I can just interact with each one as if I was natively in SEMrush or in analytics, rather than it just being a snapshot that's pulled through. That would be amazing.
Okay. So you're looking for that overused tagline, the all-in-one platform, but the actual all-in-one
actually
platform.
all-in-one. Exactly that.
Fair enough. What's one task, Phil, that you do on a daily basis that's repetitive, that you love to put on autopilot forever?
Reporting. 100% reporting.
Okay.
With with an AI just doing it all for me and giving me insights and trends and suggestions, that would be brilliant.
All right, very good. Phil, I want to thank you for being on the show with us today. Also, as we close it, I want to give you the last word. So if someone forgets everything we talked about today, what is the one thing that they should remember about the work you guys are doing?
I guess QGate, I assume you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the most important thing to remember is, and maybe it's more of a life lesson thing, is kind of be open to your own ignorance, because you don't know what you don't know. And when we go into a business, we go in with no preconceptions, and actually, if we all embraced failure a little bit more, and we're a bit more comfortable with getting things wrong, then I think we would all grow a lot faster, and we'd be a lot more content as a result. And I guess our approach to consultancy does embrace that. We're not afraid to get things wrong, because we know that the end result will be all the better for it.
Let's close with that wisdom. I love it. Now, if someone wants to get in touch with you and maybe work with you at QGate, how could they do it?
They can head over to our website, qgate.co.uk, also on LinkedIn, or they can email info@qgate.co.uk as well.
Perfect. Phil, thank you again for joining us today. It was a great conversation. We learned a lot. And maybe we can get to do it another time soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, in the meantime, thanks so much, and wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone.